Hello, CMA Universe. Welcome to the Curious Matter Aftershow. I'm Alison Haislip.
And I'm Sandeep Parikh. Tonight we are going to go behind the scenes of our latest epic episode, The Exile Part 5, Early and Often, or as it's otherwise known as, the death of Sandeep Parikh's character Rand.
Good Lord. Good Lord.
That was a lot
My heart
of stuff.
is in a panic.
Yeah.
That was a big episode. And we're about to have a big episode because look at all the people
Pins
on
and
screen with
needles.
us.
We got creator Jonathan Pezza. We've got star Tiffany Smith. And then, you may know him from Eureka, Haven, The Vampire Diaries, You're the Worst, Summer I Turned Pretty, and of course, my show, That Moment When, the thing he's most famous for, I think. Ladies and gentlemen, Colin Ferguson. Oh my gosh, Colin.
Oh my gosh. Is everyone else exhausted like I am? Tiffany, it was honestly really incredible.
Yeah.
So this was an intense episode, Jonathan. Can you maybe speak to designing this episode?
It was the toughest sound design in the series so far. Getting the crowd sequence to feel like you're there. I mean, it's like one of those things where like if you when you have made it and you know exactly what's coming and it still kind of gives you chills when like the guns go off and the people start running and you're just surrounded by that sound.
Pretty great. What about you, Tiffany? How are you feeling now? What's your reaction to how the story is coming together?
I mean, I think all these episodes, it just like they keep getting more and more intense and better. But I think because now we've got so much story behind us. And it's crazy because it's like when you read the scripts, you know the stuff that's going to happen. But then when you hear it back, it's again like the first episode, like I think I told you guys this on one of the after shows where it was like I was walking in the neighborhood and I was like, oh my God, there's someone behind me. So like when it comes to this kind of stuff where it's like that much more intense, I sat on my couch and I watched it. Listened to it. I didn't watch it. I watched it with my ears.
You watch it with your imagination. It's like reading a really good, or like not reading a good book. Like it's like, I guess it's a great audio book in a way, but with like the next level audio. That's what it is.
Your brain does the same thing though, where it's like jokes aside, where it's like I watched this because I did watch it in my brain, from hearing how intensely layered everything. It makes you feel like you're right there, and
yes.
It's
you're
so
the
cool.
production designer and you get to cast all the extras in your brain. You get to be the one that visualizes everything. Yeah. It's kind of
Except when a voice like Colin comes on, because I feel like, Colin, you are no stranger to CMA. You've been in every season, correct?
I have.
Yes.
He's how I got in.
Right.
Yeah.
You're the OG.
How many have we done? At this point?
2,600.
Yes. It feels like 8,000 episodes.
Right.
No.
More than the Tonight Show.
It's 49 episodes or something at this point.
Wow.
It's
really? Oh, okay. So
I gotta check.
Next episode will be the 50th. We should check because 50 is like a thing we should celebrate.
That includes after shows, maybe. So
that's fine. No one's gonna audit this, dude. Like just like it's okay.
It really hit its
stride.
Stride on episode 50.
We finally did it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Wait, so Colin, how did you get involved in CMA? What is your origin story?
Yeah, Colin, how'd you get in?
What is my origin story? How did we get in touch with each other?
Sandeep?
Come on! I even did.
He set you up.
No, that's not it.
Jeez. Oh man, couldn't be.
That's amazing. No, and it is sort of friends reaching out to friends, and which is what I love about all of this sort of stuff and how stuff is happening nowadays, is that it's not only is you get to see really cool stuff, but you're watching your friends do it and watching them excel in all sorts of different ways, and that's pretty exciting.
No, in last season you were, well, I guess I'd say you were our anti-hero, but you were not clearly the villain. In this episode, you ain't a good guy.
No, I'm not
Betty. You're Betty.
No.
Yeah.
So,
Wayne, he's got issues.
Yeah. So what's that shift like? Do you like getting to play the bad guy? I feel like that is probably something you are not commonly asked to do.
I'm asked to do it a lot.
Oh, you are?
Specifically as a Canadian, how does that
As a Canadian, you're so evil.
Yeah, exactly. I have a bunch of villains that I've played. I don't usually play them anymore. I've been sort of passing as of late, because a lot of it's just not. I have an 11-year-old now, and like a lot of it is footage I don't need out there. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
because then they'll be like, look, and then it gets really dark, and then you do this, and I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know. But
You're,
this is great.
you're
'Cause-
passing on the Jeffrey Epstein biopic. Sorry.
God.
yeah, it was a toss up, and I was like, I gotta let it go. It's
Can I just cancel us? We're
Yeah, we're officially canceled. Thanks,
Tiffany, I think
Sandeep.
Tiffany just fired me in front with her face.
but the great thing about this is that there is no footage, right? Like you
Right.
just get to be the bad guy, and I love that about it, and I love, and also it's a leap of faith because you go into the booth and do it a little like this, try it like this, try it like this, and the whole thing can be constructed in a way that you don't intend, and so really there's a lot of faith that goes on in something like this.
And someone in the comments, it was so fun because it's like they were like, Colin and Todd Stashwick as the villains in this episode.
I'll be honest, I forgot Todd was in this episode, and then his voice popped up, and I was like, "Why am I in my D&D game again? Oh, it's my dungeon master. My dungeon master's talking."
That's amazing.
That is the joy of this, right? Like you're just
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, and then Milana pops into the episode. I'm just like, all my lovely friends.
Also, I would like to point out that I recognized all of your voices before I recognized my own. I truly was listening to the episode, and then I was like, "Wait a minute, these lines sound really familiar." Oh, because
You
I said
recast
them.
me?
That's me.
I'm that good.
Yeah. But Jonathan, I have to ask, like, bringing that up, did you lower my voice a bit?
Just a little, because I wanted to differentiate it from Shatta,
Yeah.
the other character you played. So I wouldn't have done it if we hadn't done that second character, but just to make it a little bit different.
Yeah. Because I was like, I sound deep.
It's actually only like one semitone. It's not that much,
Nice.
but
Nice.
it does the job.
Mikey says they dubbed my part, which would be
that's
another way of saying I was replaced in an audio drama.
Yeah, it was actually Kevin Smith. I'm so
Yes.
sorry. That's who played your role.
Do you ever, Alison, or Colin too, or any of the actors in here, do you guys ever have that happen where you read lines and you've auditioned for something and then like a year later you're watching a TV show and you're like,
Yeah.
am I having the most intense deja vu ever? And then you're like,
totally.
oh, no.
You know,
I
the
auditioned
freakiest
for that.
thing, the freakiest one that
Terrible
happened to me
feeling.
is because I did some like super ancillary voices in Last of Us 2 in the game. And I was, I must have recorded it at least 2 years before the game actually came out. So I truly forgot I did the job. And then I was playing the game, and I am 75% of the way through the game. Like, I'm well into the game. And then all of a sudden that thing happens where I'm like, why does that sound familiar? What is that? Because I'm also not like any sort of like main character. I was like the voices that just add atmosphere, so you're really only catching it like kind of in the background. And I was like, oh my God, that's me. It's me. I'm in the game. It was a trip. It was great.
Have you ever had the experience of hearing that, like hearing, the person who is cast in your role, and then hearing a line that you improvised during the audition come up? That
Oh,
happened to me once.
that is always my biggest
And
fear.
you're like, come on,
they
man.
steal my good material. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that. I've seen that. Or like a really specific comic bit that you did
Mhm.
with the thing, and you're like, and then you watch the show and you're like, either we had exactly the same really odd specific bit,
Right.
Yeah.
or that was
they're
taken.
like, we love how that guy did it. We just love this guy's face more.
So, Colin, do you find, because you do a lot of voice stuff as well as on camera, do you approach these kinds of characters differently in any way?
I don't approach the character differently, but I approach the recording of it very differently. I have a lot more confidence on set with a camera. So, good news for everybody. I'm way more open in the audio. I'm like, what do you need? How should it sound? Okay. Because I always wanted to do voiceover in a really sort of deep way. But then you go and see those people who do it like full time, like the cartoon,
Right.
and they're so good and they can do so much instantly. You're like, oh wow, that's the engineers deal with them. I should just be really nice.
Yeah.
The
Like you ever
engineers
see
get to
like
deal with.
you ever see those like reels of like Jennifer Hale like doing like 6 characters at once or whatever, and you're just like, how do
Yeah.
you do this? It's insane.
My favorite thing right
Conversations
now
with themselves.
for anyone who's on TikTok is watching the women who dub the minions in Italian.
Oh yes, I've seen.
Look them
Yes,
up. I could just
insane.
watch them for hours.
yeah,
They're amazing.
incredible.
Yeah.
They're incredible.
There's 2 of them,
'cause
right?
There's 2. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
and
2
they
of them.
and they
And
do
they have to,
multiple
like-
characters at the same time. You just watch them go through the scene. Do, 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 do. And it's
Yeah.
all in French, but then, well, in Minion French, so it's all gibberish anyway. But then all of a sudden you still hear like banana, and you're like, ah.
Voice actor TikTok is actually really awesome. There's like such a huge community on there.
It's incredible.
So kind of bringing it back to the episode, Jonathan, I'm curious, like, was this one of the episodes that you were specifically looking forward to? Like in the, like, you can't pick favorites kind of a thing, but you do sort of have
But
some
you can.
favorites, and you're like, this one's going to be huge. Like, is this one
Yeah,
of
it was like I felt like if this worked, then the rest of the season would work, and it was sort
those?
of that. It was sort of the linchpin of it all. And it also scared the living crap out of me. Like every season, I try to pick a story, at least one story that scares me to try to make, because I'm like, if I do this, I'm doing something that I'm uncomfortable with. It's an uncomfortable. This episode has these really uncomfortable scenes that are very close to our hearts. Like it's a public shooting, political rally with, where you're in the middle of this giant crowd. It's a very visceral, very something we're all sort of living through in the media right now in the last, 10 years. It's just sort of been part of our collective experience as a whole, and putting that into this and making it feel like you were really there was like important, but also just terrifying for me as a creator.
Well, then, like, in the back of my mind while I'm listening to, because you set up so well that, like, bullets are so dangerous in this specific universe, right?
Yeah.
With the domes and stuff. So I'm just like, are they just murdering, like, literally everyone right now on the planet? Like, it was kind of
I mean, it's like
especially intense, though.
last ditch resort. Worst case scenario, like this is what ends up happening. And I think that's what intensifies this episode that much more. I mean, I feel like this one took more time to get it to where you were happy with it.
Yeah, it was really this one took a surprising amount of time to get finished. It's why we took a little bit of a hiatus, because I needed a few extra days.
I wasn't going to run under the bus and say that. I wasn't going to say that.
No, but I did. I was like, it was so hard to get right. And I mean, this episode has thousands of sound effects, like just people like here and around you. In order to get that feeling that you're really in the middle of the crowd, it required so many layers of voices and other sounds and like cloth movement and things that like you wouldn't think would be part of your experience in it. But then like the moment all of the pieces were in, all of a sudden it stopped feeling flat and started feeling like you were there. I just kept tweaking with it until I got chills every time listening to it, like that was like the point. I was like, okay, this is the stopping point, because that's where it needed to be from a sound and experience standpoint.
Does this one
I was
have more
was that
of our actors in it than the next one?
It does. This might be the most. This might be the biggest cast episode, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which I was like, that's the thing that was so cool for me, is then like hearing we have our Wayne and our Major Nolan, and then of course we have Rand. There was so much cool stuff just because of how powerful everyone's voices are, that I think worked so well. And even that moment, like you said, Alison, we're like, oh yeah, my DM's in there. But it's because it was like, oh, here's another incredible, like strong voice that tells a story just by saying a couple of words.
Yeah.
And so I think that like what I love so much about this show is now we're at this place where yes, it's our friends' voices and people's voices that we know as actors, but like I am getting so much more lost in it as hearing them as these characters that we know in this world of the Exile, which I think is really cool.
Well, and speaking of the voices that we know of this world, we have the voice of Marsport himself, Rand.
Marsport.
Yeah. Sandeep. This was like, this was like a huge episode for you, and presumably possibly the end of Rand. I mean, I listened to that and I was like, whoa, wait, what? That's where this is going?
Yeah, it was right. They murdered the voice of the people.
Yeah.
Which was fun to play, the voice of the people, the time that I got to do it. It was also nice. Can I tease the mini?
Yeah, I was just gonna say he does get a mini-sode. He does get a
we get to
mini-sode.
hear him again.
So it's like a little bit of a flashback, right? Like it happens sort of chronologically before this, like leading up to it a little bit. And it's really fun. It's got our friends Alex Albrecht and Brooke Sagan in it as well, our improviser buddies that Colin is also in our improv troupe. So it was really fun to get them in there playing kind of like funny characters, but then like it takes a pretty dark turn in the minisode as well. So like I at least got to do that again. So, you know, and like relive the character a little bit more. It's fun. It's like you always like hear the like radio show guy, you know, like on shows or whatever, and you're like, I would never think anybody would cast me in doing something like that. So it's kind of fun to be that guy. Because I don't have like a Casey Kasem voice or anything. I have like this like kind of high pitched Indian guy voice. Like I don't know. It just doesn't. I would never have cast me. So thanks, Jonathan.
No, it's amazing. I think it works. It works.
I love
completely.
that you think your voice is high pitched. That's blowing me like,
isn't it? It's not high pitched.
No.
No, Jonathan lowers it a tone like he did for me.
Yeah, exactly. He's lowering it. He's actually lowering it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, live.
But Sandeep, I was going to say, most of the time when people are those like the voice of the radio that you hear throughout the movie, the show, whatever, they never leave the confines of the radio. But Rand got to be also within the world as a person.
I got my poker scene.
Yeah.
That was a pretty fun scene. Or sorry, I can't remember the name of the in-world version of poker that you created.
Stellar.
Which every time there's like there is an in-world version of poker or chess, like in a thing. Like I'm like, I always want to play it. I'm like, I wish they would sell I want like then make the deck and sell that as merch.
I built
like,
the deck. It has not been printed yet.
Of course you did.
Of course you did, Jonathan. Of course you did.
Yeah.
You detail-oriented monster.
Tiffany's seen it.
I love that because I'm like how good are the rules for this? I always love stuff like that. Anyway, so that was a fun scene to do. And it's fun to do a death scene, too.
Yeah.
Though, I will say, I didn't get to die as cool as Phil Lamar did in this episode. He gets, like, a whole, like, 25 lines of, like, almost being dead.
And, like, revealing this new plot point that completely changes everything, too.
His end is absolutely Shakespearean.
Yeah.
It's like,
I believe it was him, too. I think he had my favorite line of the episode. You know, I always pull out one. And I think it was, like, I forget exactly how it was phrased, but Bryce asks, like, so what do we do? And he goes, we do jack and shit or something like that.
Oh, yeah. That's Malcolm's. That's Malcolm's line.
Oh, it's Malcolm's line.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that was definitely my favorite line.
I also love like with the death scene for Phil. The way that you did all the sound for the key, because I know when I was reading it, I was like, how are we going to do this audibly to make it so that everyone kind of knows that this key is showing all of this stuff? And obviously with the voiceover from Bryce, you get a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But so cool, like hearing the sound effects that were chosen and like how it all worked together so well.
I always knew that it was gonna be a tuning fork that was like that first sound, like when you bring the card out, the metal card, that it has that little bit of metallic ring and it hangs as all the stuff happens.
Yeah.
And so that was actually really easy because I heard it in my head when I wrote it. I was like, this is gonna be a tuning fork.
Jonathan, did you do any like at home Foley or anything, or was everything you did?
A bunch of that.
What's the weirdest one?
I'm like, I sit at this computer like banging stuff a lot, like just smacking on the mic.
That's not even for the work.
That's
for work.
just for fun. Yeah,
that's just a Tuesday.
Just a Tuesday night. No, I mean the key. So the key has this. There's like a card sound that you can't find when you're like moving it around. That like it was like a very specific thing I couldn't find, but it's just literally like I have a metal credit card, and I was like, this actually sounds perfect. Like the little ticks and the little flip, like.
And that must be so annoying for your wife. That you're probably just walking around all the time being like, what? Whoa, hold on, what was that? What was that noise you just made with the blender?
It's the most annoying for his son. We know that.
For his son?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Seriously, my
I
son
feel like
hates
he'd be
it.
into it.
Well,
I'm
does
so
he?
tired
Oh.
of this show,
Oh,
Dad.
right. That's right. That's right. Oh, Colin, you
Colin.
missed this. In a previous episode, Jonathan's son somehow got his hands on the chat, and he just wrote he was just complaining in chat. His 5-year-old son was complaining in full sentences, being like, "Not
That's
this show again."
amazing.
He was completely trolling us.
Yeah.
he was taking a bath and watching us on Twitch on an iPad, and my wife walked out of the room, and he's just like, get this over with. This is so boring. Emoji.
I was literally I was like, "Should we ban this person?" And Jonathan was like, "That's my wife's account, so please don't."
Please don't ban them. Please don't ban them.
Why don't we real quick go around favorite death scene in a movie or
Oh.
TV show?
Oh wow.
Oh no.
I
I
guess
go.
I'll-
I got one. I can
Yeah,
go.
okay, go.
The favorite's got to be Paul Rubens in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
Okay,
Wow.
That's a win.
it's a good one.
Man, how'd you pull that out so fast?
I just needed a beat.
Oh, go ahead, Tiff.
Mine's Boromir in Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
gosh.
Oh, that's a good
Epic.
one.
That's a good real
That's
one.
a good one because, at least for me, I had read that book so many times as a kid, so that it played such a particular way in my brain.
Yeah.
And then for fucking Sean Bean to still pull it off better than my own brain,
Yeah.
I was like, that was pretty incredible.
I just
It's a
read
good-
this recently, but you know that they the speech he has when they're all sitting around the Council of Elrond to decide to go out. They apparently completely changed it that day. And so when he's sitting there with his hand on his knee and he keeps looking down, it's because he's literally looking at the lines on set.
at the script,
And
right?
that's
It
his
totally
whole
works.
That's his whole MO during the whole council
Yeah.
meeting is just
Just-
looking.
I love that.
Okay, I think my favorite death scene is got to be Charlie. Was that his name, right? Charlie in Lost, not Penny's boat.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a good.
It was
death
just such a
scene.
boom moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just started I've just been rewatching Lost, and spoiler, but in the first season, he almost dies, and I was like, "What the?"
Yeah.
So it's like I was so upset and then relieved that when it happens again. I think for me, that's what makes those deaths so epic. Is that with Boromir, he has to earn back everyone caring about him. And with Charlie, it's he has this moment of saving the day. Oh god,
Yeah.
it's a great one.
All right, I got 3 quick ones. The one that scarred me as a child, Mufasa.
Oh, duh.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one that plays over and over again in my brain. And then Red Wedding.
Ugh. That's like
just
800
that-
death.
That's it.
That's
yes,
a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a lot of but it's like the death of the young king. It's the death of the young wolf. It's a big death. And then the last one, which is my funny one, is Austin Powers, the guy who gets run over. What was his name? The guy who gets run over by the the steamroller
Oh,
thing.
Oh,
yeah.
I feel like that is my favorite comedic death scene I've ever seen.
And so now
It's
that
just him
you said
screaming.
that one,
Anyway,
I'm I'm gonna have 2 because my other favorite is in Meet Joe Black when Brad Pitt's character gets hit by the car.
Oh, at the end? Like, what?
No, at the beginning.
Oh, at the beginning.
It's at the beginning. He's it's like this guy and girl meet. They have a meet cute, and then he's like, okay, and he
Right.
walks across the street, literally
And then
like
bam.
a dummy that flies.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It's insane.
Great.
I think my favorite
All
are
right, Jonathan, close us out.
Close us out. Okay, so one sci-fi. The sci-fi one, because it super scarred me as a kid, is Arnold Schwarzenegger in the dream sequence in Total Recall, where his helmet breaks and his
Oh.
eyes and his tongue
Pop out of his
pop
head.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That
it's so Arnold, too. He's like, ah!
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not
that
sure
one.
that it's a model. Like you're just like that could have just been Arnold too.
And my favorite dramatic one is Adam Goldberg Saving Private Ryan.
Saving
Oh.
Private Ryan.
The
Oh.
slow
The
knife.
slow
knife.
knife.
Oh my
The
god.
slow knife.
But I would also say
Oh,
Giovanni
man.
Ribisi in Saving Private Ryan as well. When he diagnoses himself, like he literally is like, "Oh, I'm dying," and they all have to like,
Oh yeah.
that one too.
Oh.
How about
Ooh.
Wash in Serenity? That was a good one,
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
that's a good
Oh.
one too.
Yeah,
right?
So
Just
many
for the
good death
dramatic
scenes.
of like, oh,
Yeah.
this is,
Yeah.
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Good
like
stuff.
you know that those deaths are like the character was loved if we remember their deaths, because it's like you didn't want them to go away.
No,
so it had
that's
to be.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. I feel like as I'm not a serious actor, so I probably will never get cast in this, but like to do a death scene now, like with how much we know about story and how much it's been lampooned and parodied, the fact that you can still pull it off, you know what I mean?
Right.
Without it feeling cheesy is like, that is an achievement in and of itself. Like, I feel like that's really, like, really? You're going to give the last line that gives the sage advice to the character, you know what I mean?
So
Like,
wait,
and
Sandeep,
still
have you
pull that
ever
off today?
died on camera?
If I ever died on camera.
I asked Sandeep, but I asked this to all of you. Have you ever died on camera? Colin's like a zillion times. What are you talking
A
about?
zillion times. Yeah.
He's like, I was the Maytag man. You didn't watch me die on camera as a Maytag man?
I've died in a speedboat.
Even I've
taking
died
off
on
into
camera.
the middle of I've died in a speedboat, taken off to the middle of the lake, and then the boat goes around in circles.
Ooh.
I've died on a country road. I've been turned into a vampire and then exposed to sun.
Oh,
I've been, I've
that's
died
a
a
good one.
lot.
nice.
That sounds like a
good
country song.
Yeah.
You put all that together.
That'd be amazing. I want to hear a country song of you and all your deaths, all your characters' deaths.
I think I've only died once. I definitely died in Mark Harmon's arms in a season premiere of NCIS, which to me was like, I was like, this is like a crowning achievement in my career that I'm like literally like saying to Mark Harmon, like, call my mom, and then I die or something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did a CSI die
There you
where David Caruso, I had a giant ice sculpture through my chest, and he ended the teaser with, "That's cold, Alex. Cold as ice."
Yes.
Yes.
That's how I want to die, but it has to be David Caruso.
Yeah.
I've died twice. Once was in the first horror movie that I did, where I got my back all slashed up by a demon, which I still am like, it was like a horror film because they had to put so many prosthetics on my back, which at first looked super cool, but then about how long it takes to take all of that stuff off. So I'm like sitting here at midnight, creepy house. Everyone else has left because this is like super indie film, and the PA is like putting alcohol on my back to try and steal this like fake stuff off my back. The phone service doesn't work in the house. I was like, this is the start of the actual horror film. What's about to happen?
Yeah.
And then the other one was Splinter, the short that I did with Mark. We shot me dying in it, and it didn't make the short. And so now that's why we have Deepest Darkest, which is the feature Kickstarter that we're doing. Because my character's death didn't make it on the screen.
You're like,
Yes,
I still exist.
tell everybody
Nice.
about that. Actually, let's take a second and share a little bit more about Deepest Darkest.
Well, kind of like what we've talked about with this show, where it's like groups of friends where it's just like we want to make cool stuff together. And so Mark and I, like I said, it came from doing Splinter, where my character died, and I was like, what can we do next together? And so we came up with this idea to take the character who did not die, Tara. And she has a brain injury from the plane crash, and so we kind of started like toying with Black Mirror and Twilight Zone, where it's like, what could she do with this? And so we've turned it into a feature anthology of shorts where people come to her to confess like their deepest, darkest secrets because it gets it off their chest. But then she forgets and they move on. And the great part about it is like we're bringing in so many friends, but it's so many like diverse writers and creators who are writing and then a lot of them directing for the first time as well. Like we have Phil Lamar is going to be in one. Ernie Hudson's in one. We just announced today that David Dalsmalshin is going to be one of our EPs with the Kayla Cooper who wrote Megan. So it's just been like amazing to get all these people together. And yeah, we're doing it through Kickstarter. So hopefully everybody that helps us back this to make it happen, head over to our Kickstarter. The link's on my Instagram and Mark's too. And help us make this movie because I'm so excited about it. Like,
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, so head over to Mark Bernardin and Tiffany's Kickstarter. It's on Kickstarter.com. It's called Deepest Darkest, an anthology, and help them out. Help them make the movie.
If you want to write a death scene for me in it, I don't think
go.
I've had one, so that'd be really great.
Not saying anything. I need to figure out that there was some act on some show where he would never lay still when he was supposed to be dead on a show, so they had to keep bringing him back. And now, I'm like, I did not make this up. It was like he just wouldn't lay flat. He would just keep moving, so they couldn't
You're
be like,
well, he moved, so we got to bring him back for another episode.
Oh, I think it was Smallville. I think it was Tom Welling's friend Clark in Smallville. Like whenever he has
Yeah.
death scenes, if you watch them or like he gets injured, he's like, I didn't keep moving. So they can't just be like, and then
They
die.
can't-
You're not going to watch me actually die.
That's right.
God, there's stuff about
Amazing.
that that's just so clever as an actor.
Yeah, whatever it takes
Yeah.
to get one more episode.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Listen, I think this has been an incredible episode.
Well, we have to do we got to finish this up
Oh,
with
yeah.
our rapid fire with Colin. Colin, are you ready?
All right.
All right.
We got a
I
little.
don't know. Am I ready? By
got-
the way, the backstory of the villain, you called him the villain,
Yeah.
Governor
Yeah.
Wayne. Maybe he's forgivable when you see his backstory a little bit.
Maybe.
Oh,
Maybe.
Is there a mini-sode that we're going to get? We're going to get his backstory?
Maybe.
Listen, you have to say that and think that Colin is an actor to play a villain. Of course,
You gotta-
think
you got to be the hero of your
Just
own
saying.
story,
I
right?
mean, he made some mistakes. I'm not saying he didn't make mistakes, but you know.
But does he
he's
hold
driven
himself
to this
accountable for
place.
them?
No, I don't think he's fully evolved, but he's partially he's
He's got his reasons that aren't just cartoonishly evil. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
All right. So, so we're going to do our rapid fire list. We call this the Exiles list. It's 5 questions. Just going to shoot them at you real quick. And first thing that pops into your head. Ready?
No
Okay.
thinking.
All right, here we go. If you were exiled to a foreign planet, what would you bring?
Oxygen.
Sure.
If you can only bring, and if you can only bring one sci-fi show, book, or movie, what would you bring?
Oh, I'd probably bring Lord of the Rings.
Ooh. The one food that you would
Why we're
bring.
friends.
Ooh. I would bring quinoa.
Oh
It's
my
a superfood.
God.
I love it. Protein.
Okay.
Do you think you
Doesn't
would
require
actually?
much water to grow it. I could use the seeds to either eat or grow. I'm thinking long term.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
Matt
no,
Damoning
that's
this
smart.
thing.
You're totally mad.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's
That's a
better than
correct-
potatoes.
Yeah, that's a correct answer for
Yeah.
sure.
Do you think if you, Colin Ferguson, were dropped into the world of the Exile, would you survive?
No.
Correct.
Correct. And then finally,
I'm getting everything right.
would you ever live on Mars?
No.
Like you.
Yeah, correct.
No.
You're
No,
not
we got
getting
this
the-
amazing planet to go and see and explore and do all sorts of things. And well, Mars seems a little dry.
Just a little. Just a little.
Yeah.
Little dusty.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There we go.
All
right.
right. Well, it's time to wrap this up for this installment of the After Show. Thank you to everyone who came out to be a part of the live experience. The show is. Oh no, that's not. Is this taking? It is taking a hiatus. No, this is
No,
over.
we already
No,
took the
that's-
hiatus.
Oh, that's already out.
Yeah.
No, we didn't erase that. I thought we did.
Didn't erase it. Didn't
All right.
erase it. Busted.
It's okay. We're like
Guys,
Anchorman. We're just going to read
where's
anything in front of
Are
us.
gonna be.
I can edit
Yeah,
it. I will edit
I'll
it out.
read anything, my
Oh,
friend.
there's a chat here too. That's interesting.
Special thanks to our president, President Obama, who's been. Oh, sorry. That's a dumb joke. As if this was written in 2008. Okay. Yeah. So thank you for everybody who came out. To you guys here in chat, you guys are the best. And you can come join us for our next after show, September 17th at 7 p.m. Pacific time, to live listen with other fans in chat and get a chance to interact with the cast. Once again, that's going to be September 17th, 7 p.m. PT on twitch.com/effinfunny, EFFIN funny.
Yes, thank you to our guests, Colin Ferguson, Tiffany Smith, and Jonathan Pezza. And thank you again to our technical team, DeathQueenVex, and anyone who's been moderating.
Yeah, we want to hear your feedback. Okay, so make sure to reach out and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram under the handle @CMAnthology or online at www.cmanthology.com.
Please also make sure to like, review, and subscribe and or comment on your favorite podcast app.
The Exile is based on Police Your Planet by Lester Del Rey, a literary work in the public domain, and the show is produced in accordance with U.S. copyright law. Curious Matter Anthology is produced by the Knightsville Workshop in association with Effin Funny Productions. Copyright Knightsville Workshop 2024, all rights reserved.
See y'all in 2 weeks.
We love you out there in the CMA universe. See you soon, and thank you for listening.